right, hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth session of Star Trek I-13. If you're not familiar, we are a tabletop role-playing group that is using the Star Trek Adventures rule set by Modiphius Entertainment. Specifically, we are set on a Nova class in the year 2374 during the Dominion War. Our first three sessions are already on YouTube if you want to play catch-up. Now, I do want to say one thing before we get into today's adventure, and that is that it was planned and written before the whole COVID-19 situation began to snowball. It's not meant to be deliberately preachy, but there's going to be parallels to the current situation. Just keep in mind that Star Trek has always sort of challenged social norms, and of course, please do your best to stay healthy and safe while you're hopefully isolating. The other item of note is that I greatly appreciate any and all support for the channel, whether that's chatting in chat or things that are more involved like bits, follows, subs, yada yada yada. All of it helps, and I greatly appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and run the intro. And welcome back. So, like I usually like doing with my Star Trek games, we are going to open with a log from the players. And I believe a certain Lieutenant Commander Idru has the log today. So, GM Josh, take it away.
Medical Officer's Log, Stardate 51321.4. 13 is headed to Fosstarian II in response to a general distress call issued by Tresta Zamaline, the planet's regent. It appears that the world is stricken with a pandemic that they've been unable to combat, and the fact that the Fostarians are an advanced but isolationist race says to me that their need must be dire. I can't help but wonder if Starfleet has sent the wrong ship to deal with this crisis, and if a hospital ship is more in order. And I can only hope that we're still able to render some form of aid, but with a medical staff of one, I'm not sure we'll be able to stop whatever the Fostarians are facing. In log.
All right. So we start our first scene in sickbay where Idru, you are doing pretty much whatever occurs to you prepare for the situation. You're running in the dark. As you said, you just know that there's some sort of a crisis, and you are just trying to do everything in your power to prepare for that. And as you're doing so, in walks Captain Shran.
And Shran, when you walk in, I've probably got all sorts of mechanical devices or mechanics parts just strewn all over one of the beds here, and I'm trying to assemble some sort of thing, and I don't pay you any attention when you walk in.
Doctor, are you doing all right?
Well, hello, Captain. Yes, I think I've prepared a few things. I have an idea, at least a plan to help us. I'm kind of worried about the situation we're going into, if I'm being honest.
The feeling's mutual, I assure you. I know we're not the ship. We're not the most well equipped to deal with this, but we're still Starfleet. We're going to give it our best shot. And I'm sure if if Starfleet had the resources, we wouldn't be the only ship.
Well, I have an idea for a holographic, well, presence unit, for lack of a better term, that we could possibly send
Is
down to the planet to use as a proxy until we find it that it's safe for us to go ourselves. It's kind of a work in progress. I have sort of taken the EMH offline while I work on this.
is that what all this is for? And I motioned
And
to all that junk you mentioned earlier.
yes, I have to say my engineering skills are more of a hobbyist at this point. I didn't want to bug Commander Tolek until I actually have a more worthy proof of concept.
I give you permission to bug Commander Tolek. Feel
Okay,
free, Doctor.
I have to say, Captain, until we have this presence unit aboard, or working, it's probably a good idea to limit the away team to the absolutely critical personnel. Even in containment suits, we have no idea what we're walking into. I've read situations where even a transporter beam can bring a contagion back to a ship, and with a ship this size and as small as it is, with such a small crew, it could be potentially almost an immediate cause before the entire ship would be infected with whatever this is.
Do you know anything details about this planet? I'm not well acquainted with it, and Starfleet's been so busy with the war effort, they haven't been able to give me anything really else to go on.
Well, thankfully, we are not near the Dominion border, so that hopefully won't be one of the things that we have to worry about encountering. I know that the Fosstarians are isolationists. They're an advanced species, which when we got their call for help, really surprised me and just speaks to the situation they might be in. They normally would just handle this themselves, so if they're asking for help, their need must be great. But other than that, I don't have any information on their anatomy or their physiology.
Have they been able to send you any information, anything regarding what they're going through?
ELH, I'm going to assume they haven't.
Nope, literally the only thing that you've gotten is that distress call from them.
Unfortunately, Captain, that's all we've got.
It's peculiar. It's damn peculiar.
And I don't mean to cause an alarm with what I said before about containment. In this situation where you're dealing with a pandemic, it's best to be extremely cautious, perhaps even paranoid.
I guess you're right. Better to overdo it than underdo it and regret doing nothing.
Well, like you said, we're here to help. The last thing we want is to add our own troubles to this crisis.
I'll leave it to you, Doctor, to oversee all our preparations. Feel free to call any member of the staff in to help you. I think you're going to need a lot of help on this one.
And Captain, it's one of the nastier sides of a situation like this. It's very possible that we might have to interdict a planet and enact some kind of blockade if we find that this, whatever we're dealing with, can cross species and be passed to, other Federation species. Then we can't let anyone off this planet.
I didn't think of that beforehand, but I agree. I guess we'll have to leave the I-13 to create some sort of blockade by herself. You're right, though. We can't let anyone leave, at least until we understand the nature of this.
And that's assuming they haven't tried to leave already. Again, the Fosstarians are an advanced species. They have the capability to leave their planet. I guess we can just assume the best at this point, but we should be prepared in a panic. People don't always act rationally.
I will tap my communicator and reach out to Commander Saval on the bridge. Commander Saval,
Yes, Captain.
have you received any scans indicating traffic either going into or out of Fosstarian II?
I don't suppose that I would have at this point, right, Jim?
If you want, you can make a roll of it.
I would do so.
Okay. Then that's going to be a sensors, let's call it a sensor security for you. And let's make the difficulty a 1. But because you have advanced sensors, difficulty's only a 0. So someone can get the ship's sensors security.
You said sensor security for me, so
Oh,
was that
sorry.
reason security?
Yeah, you should be. Let's do control security for, or no, reason security for you and sensor security for the ship. Sorry.
Okay.
I got the ship.
All right, already 1 success. Ooh, a complication. Interesting. I'm going to take threat for the complication.
Lovely.
As far as you're able to tell, Saval, there isn't any traffic either going or coming from the system. I mean, other than yourself, of course.
Captain, it doesn't appear that there is any space traffic in the system.
Seems lucky for us. Can you reach out to the Fosstarian system and see if they have any records of ships leaving or entering the system?
I will attempt to contact them and procure the necessary information regarding ship transit through the system. However, given their relatively enigmatic nature, they may be unwilling to disclose any such information, and we have not had contact with the planet since they sent their initial distress call.
I'm aware, Commander, but we have to try. If this is as bad as we have to prepare as if this is a worst case scenario, and that means an entire quarantine of the system.
I would be remiss in my duties were I not to point out that the extent of the Fosstarians' technology is a mystery to us. They may possess some form of stealth or cloaking technology that would allow them to disguise vessels leaving their planet. I suggest that we contact Commander Telek and ask her to modulate the sensors to account for that possibility.
I'll leave that to you, Commander. Thank you for your help.
You're quite welcome, Captain.
Doctor, is there any other preparations you would like us to make?
No, sir. Apart from the last bit, like I said about being overly cautious and possibly paranoid, it would be a good idea for the away team to probably go down in a shuttle and also bring our environmental suits. Like I said, they're very rare cases, but there have been cases where the transporter has transmitted a pathogen it was unable to filter out because it couldn't even detect it. So we can't assume the transporter would protect us from bringing anything harmful back to the ship. A shuttle would be the most prudent way, of course, otherwise taking the ship itself down to the surface, but some other way other than a transporter might be the safest way to go to the planet's surface.
I'll take that under advisement, Doctor. Continue your preparations. I'll see you when we're ready to go down.
Will do, Captain, and I'll get a hold of Mr. Tolek to see if they have time for my project here.
And Captain Tron leaves the med bay.
Alrighty. So, if Telek and Idru want to get their heads together, I can certainly throw Telek on the map. Nick is muted, though, so...
Oh, here we go. I fixed it. I was having audio problems.
Hey.
So yes, I would be happy to go sit on the map somewhere, wherever you put me.
All right, so Telek, you get a call to report to sickbay, and when you do, you see that Idru is fiddling with some sort of equipment. Again, he can describe it as he wishes.
Yeah, so when you come in, Tolek, what you see is I have disassembled all around me a pile of electronics, and most of it have to do with holographic emitters and of that sort, but then also long-range communication equipment. And at this point, it's mostly a mess, but I'm bent over a pile of equipment looking at it as you walk in.
You look pretty busy here. What are you trying to make?
Hello, Mr. Tillich. I might be a little out of my element here, and I could certainly use help from an expert. What I'm trying to do is, well, the problem first is for us to be on this planet, it's possible that we come in contact with whatever contagion has afflicted the planet, which is the worst case scenario for us if we want to help them. So I had the idea of beaming down a unit, which I'm trying to construct, that would create holographic representations of us and allow us to at least investigate and, if possible, treat some patients without actually physically coming in contact with them. However, like I said, this is a little out of my element. I think I might have actually broken the EMH trying to get this to work.
Well, I at least know how to fix the EMH, so we can start there. That doesn't sound too hard to do, though. How many people are you looking to support with this?
At least myself. Ideally, I could task others. Maybe 3 others would be a wonderful situation, but at least one.
Okay, 1 to 4 people. How many holographic projectors do we have?
Well, I've torn apart sickbay. I've taken out most of the EMH's holographic projectors. Unfortunately, he can only now appear in my office, which isn't going to do us very much good. So I think I've got components for 8 different units.
So that should be fine. Let me take a look at that. And I want to try to put together one of these projector units to project a hologram.
Okay. Do you have jury rigging as a focus?
I have improvisation.
That'll work. Go ahead and do me a daring in engineering, and let's call this a difficulty of 4.
Could I assist, perhaps?
Sure, if you tell me how you're assisting.
I'm going to pass the parts over to Tillich and say, hey, I wanted it to do this, and I want it to do that, and try to assist her in not only putting it together, but also making sure it does the purpose of what we're going for.
Sure, I'll allow it. You'll assist with a, let's call it a daring medicine for you.
Focus in emergency medicine, maybe?
Nah, it's not emergency medicine quite yet.
I think I'll burn my determination for this because I have machines are easier to understand than people.
Okay.
So I think that might help.
Well, that's the 4 successes you need. All we need is Idru not to roll a complication. Alright. So yeah, Tolek, you assemble some parts together, and you create a backpack-sized device that should be able to sustain at least 1 holographic projection. There are some caveats, of course. The projector is limited in range, so whoever is carrying the backpack, if it's not the hologram itself, you're limited to about maybe 10, 15 feet at best. The other thing is that there is an operational time on it. Holograms obviously use a lot of power, so you maybe have an operational time of an hour, 2 hours at best.
So this will work for a little while, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get 4 of them up concurrently
Well,
to have a good amount of time on them.
I'll take what I can get, Commander. This would be very helpful if we have to perform a surgery or anything that requires dexterity. It's very difficult to do that in an EV suit.
I'm sure for basic triage stuff, you can just talk to them on video.
Yes, or in an EV suit would be enough, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that'll work. So I would like to see if, while Idru gets whatever else set up, if Tillich could put together at least 1 more of these, if not more, whatever he can manage.
I would say that based on how much you've had to rip out of sickbay, in terms of equipment. You could maybe make another one, but you would definitely be depriving sickbay of all of its holographic projectors.
Idru seemed to be fine with doing that already, so I guess we'll have 2 of them.
Okay. And I will say, if you give me 2 threat to make that advantage, no roll will be required.
What do you guys think?
I think it's worth it. Whatever
I
medical
think
task
it's
we go into,
important.
having a assist would probably be useful.
Just go for it. Just do it.
All right. So I'm going to take the 2 threat, and yeah, Telek, you walk into Idru's office, start ripping out holo projectors and slapping it into another jury-rigged backpack. And yeah, you now have 2 of these devices. And just in time, too, because it's about that time that Commander Holton comes over the comm and says, "Senior officers to the bridge."
Well, it sounds like us, Commander.
And we'll both head on up together, presumably.
Okay. So, we're going to cut to an external look of the ship, as you're going to see the same thing on the view screen, but as the I-13 comes out of warp into the system, what appears first on the view screen is a blue-brown planet. Most of the planet is water. It's maybe about 70 to 80% water, not unlike Earth. And all of the lands are nice and brown. There's not really any greenery to be seen. But probably what really strikes your attention is the fact that there is a massive ring structure that goes around the entire planet. And it's centered around the equator. And what you're seeing is that this is both a device, meaning it's doing something to the planet, but there's also people living there. And if you want more information than that, you're going to have to scan it. But that's what you would see just from a visual inspection. It's pretty much like a megastructure that indicates that they're definitely an advanced sort of species.
Do we know if the communication came from the ring or the planet?
You do not know, unfortunately.
And do we see ships coming and going?
Ignore the ships that are on the map. Those are not there. I just didn't have time to Photoshop them out. But, it does remind me, though. So, coming from the ring, going down to the surface of the planet, are great orbital tethers. So, there does appear to be ways to go to and from the ring from the surface.
I think that Soval would scan the ring immediately to see if there were any defensive emplacements or weapons platforms embedded into it.
Okay, let's have you do a reason security. And the ship will assist you with a sensor security. Again, it's a difficulty 0.
Shipboard tactical systems, infiltration, nothing there.
I'll give you tactical systems. Man, you just... Roll20 does not like you today.
So I guess we don't actually. Do we still roll for the ship?
Nah, he needs at least 1 success for an assist to count, so... But again, difficulty 0, so you get some information. What you find, Saval, is that the exterior of the ring are massive sheets of duranium, so fairly standard sort of construction for an advanced species. The inside of the ring, though, has these photonic crystals that are bombarding the planet's surface with continuous low-level waves of gamma radiation. Now, you aren't a medical person. Like, if Idru were to look at this, he might know more, but you're fairly certain that the gamma radiation isn't deadly to you all, at least in short exposure?
Captain, I'm detecting some strange readings from the ring. Although I cannot determine its function or the status of its defenses, if any, it seems to be bombarding the planet with gamma radiation. Dr. Idru, could you examine these sensor readings? Perhaps you'll have better success than I at ascertaining the purpose of this megastructure.
Sure, Mr. Saval. I'll be happy to take a look.
Yeah. Reason medicine, difficulty 0.
How about a focus in sensor operations?
Most definitely.
You said reason medicine, right?
You got it. Three momentum for you. Very nice. So yeah, you confirm what he's saying, but what you're noticing is that this gamma radiation is, if you were to stay for like 6 months or a year, you would have to take a pretty large dosage of anti-radiation medicine. But for like a simple jaunt to the planet, like a day or maybe even a week, it's not that, like, it shouldn't affect you at all. Like, pretty much every species that you have on board would be able to tolerate the radiation exposure.
And this is planet wide or just around the area where the ring is?
It is planet wide.
Well, Captain, I don't know what the hell they're trying to do here, but it's certainly not healthy.
Strange. Let's, Commander Holton,
Sir?
have we had any sort of communication with them outside of the distress call?
No, sir, And she stops mid sentence as her console begins beeping, and she sort of laughs and says, well, they're hailing us, sir.
Put it on viewer.
All right. So what appears on screen is a humanoid shaped individual in what looks to be some form of a hazmat suit. There's an opaque faceplate that covers their face, and a sort of a yellow jumpsuit that surrounds it, almost like a hazmat suit. And the voice does sound feminine in nature, and they identify themselves and say, this is Regent Zameline of the Fosstarians. How might we be of assistance? Are you responding to our distress call?
We are, Regent Zameline. I'm Captain Oshrev Shran of the United Federation planet starship I-13. How can we be of assistance to you?
Well, I would be able to give you a full briefing if you were to come down to the palace, and I can assure you that there shouldn't be any danger of contamination. The virus has not yet spread to the capital, so you should be okay.
Is there any way you can send us information so we can run it through our ship's computers?
There's a definite pause, and if any of you are empaths, I'd give you something, but last I checked... Actually, wait a second, isn't Idru a Delton?
He's a Delta, but I didn't pick up the talent.
Okay. Then yeah, unfortunately, the pause is all I give you information-wise, and after that pause, they say, unfortunately, we are not ready to disclose information over an open channel at this time.
We can open a secure channel if that's necessary.
I would prefer it if either you came down or I came up to you.
I turn to the doctor.
I raise an eyebrow. Captain, and I guess I say this loudly enough so even they could hear me on screen.
I think
Captain,
Holton might have muted you.
Captain, there's no way we can allow anyone on this ship for the reasons I said before. Containment needs to be the first step in solving this problem. Until we can be certain that no one can leave the planet, we can't really begin our work. I'd be happy to go down to the planet, though, to meet with the Regent and get whatever information they have. It seems silly that in the circumstances they're worried about protecting information, but if that's what it's going to take to start working on this problem, I'm willing to go down.
Regent Zameline, the Federation represents hundreds of species. Any information you can give us, we may have something similar that can help you. I do understand the need for privacy, though. We will give us the coordinates. We will beam down a very small team and discuss how we can help you immediately.
That is acceptable. I will send along coordinates. And I would prefer it if someone as high ranking as you were to come along. I don't know how it is in your culture, but someone of influence, such as yourself, a captain, as you put it, let's just say it goes a long way into building trust.
Understood, Regent. Um, we will see you in a short while.
And she sort of does a little nod, and then the screen goes back to the image of the planet.
They have a very peculiar way of asking for help.
It does seem remarkably suspicious that they should be so reticent even now. This may, in fact, be some form of ruse.
Even if it is a ruse, we have to take the chance. It's too many people, and they asked for help. Doctor, I can't pretend to have any background in medical profession. This is your game.
Captain, I would recommend we take a shuttle because, as I said before, we don't know what we're dealing with. It might be something that could be transmitted even to the ship through a transporter. A shuttle would be the cleanest way to approach the planet. I still worry about containment. We need to make sure no one can leave this planet. Especially, perhaps it's the amount of time I've been around Commander Saval, but I am also a bit worried that he requested your presence on the planet specifically. I hope that's not some sort of trick in order to slip any sort of vessel past the I-13 or escape any kind of quarantine.
I'm sure it's just my electric personality that he's drawn to.
Of course, that could also be a factor.
There is one other concern, Captain. Based on Federation and interstellar law, do we have jurisdiction to enact a quarantine here or to prevent any vessel from landing on the planet or leaving?
I believe that we do, but we must have more information before we can make that call. That doesn't stop us from strongly suggesting to any ship that approaches that they turn around. Right now, I don't feel comfortable doing that, enacting a official quarantine. But if we have any evidence that shows this spreads to other species or shows that it's incredibly lethal, I know we can do that. Starfleet gives me that authority. And the Prime Directive does not apply because they asked us for help.
I'm not certain.
I think most people will be afraid of the strong suggestion not to come down to the planet anyway. Even before we enact a full quarantine.
That is true.
And the Regent said something that just made me think. He said that it had not reached the capital yet, which makes me believe that perhaps it is still spreading and they don't have it contained.
That's all. I think you had something.
No, it's all right. I'm good.
There's only one way to really find out how bad this is, and that's to get down there and get our own sensors on this, get our own scanners on this, and do the science. For some reason they want.
I'll step in close to the captain, and I'll say, Captain, it's also, while very unlikely, possible that this is a one-way mission. I would not assign anyone to the away team that... Well, if it were me, I would ask for volunteers. Let's put it like that. But it's possible that anyone that goes down there may not come back.
Okay. I look to the bridge crew and I say, does anyone volunteer to come down to the planet with the doctor and myself?
I mean, we're also sending down that machinery. You're going to need somebody to fix it once it breaks. Because it's not going to stay good. It's going to break.
Given that Starfleet protocol prohibits captains from joining away missions, and we are being flexible with those regulations, I believe that it would be necessary for me to join the away mission in order to ensure your safety, Captain.
That's 4.
And Holton just
I think-
smiles and say, I'll keep the fort up here.
Commander, I want you to do 2 things. 1, I want you to make sure that any ship that approaches this planet knows exactly what's going on. And 2, I want you to reach out to Starfleet Command and see if they can give us any assistance.
Of course, sir. I will do both readily. However, in regards to the latter, as a reminder, sir, the only reason we got sent out here is because we were the only ship that, well, could be spared from the war effort.
I'm aware. But we have to ask.
Of course, sir.
A famous human once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, so we have to take the shot.
She sort of chuckles at that and says, I'll keep that in mind, sir.
I think his name was Walter or something.
All right. So, with all of you going on the away mission, let's be very clear on what you're taking in terms of equipment, which shuttle or the Aero shuttle you're taking. You know, let's figure that out real quick. So, are you taking a regular shuttle, or are you taking the Aero shuttle?
Oh, we haven't got to... Let's take that. That sounds way more fun.
Okay. So if you're taking
Let's
the
get
Aero
flashy.
shuttle, it basically has the same amenities as a runabout, which means that it has its own sort of passenger compartment, has even a little lab if you want to work on things. It's pretty nice, actually. Now, in terms of equipment, I would say that I would give you all EV suits for free. But if you want something like extra medical equipment, or if you want extra power cells, or, you know, basically anything that would be a cost, that would be the time to let me know.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rule book now, and I'm trying to determine what would be the best use.
I'm popping up in the science book too to take a look.
Like an emergency surgical kit is opportunity 1,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe that's something that would be useful in case we have to do emergency surgery on someone that's dying.
Now, it does say it is a single-use item.
Yeah.
And what I would
And I'm
say...
not-
Oh, go ahead.
I've never looked at the medical book, so there might be some stuff in there that's even better. I'm just looking at the main rule book.
Right, and it's worth saying that engineers, so our lovely Commander Tolek will have an engineering tricorder for free. It's also worth saying that Idru gets a medical kit for free. But if you want, like...
Do
Oh, go ahead.
I get some sort of captain's tricorder that's just better than everyone else's for free?
Sure, it's gold-plated.
Yes.
Sounds fair. All right, I found something, but I want to talk about you guys. So a stasis unit might be really helpful. It's opportunity cost of 1, escalation 2, which is why I wanted to talk about it. But it says a lethally injured character placed in stasis are stabilized until taken out of the unit. Well, then ELH, if someone is sick and they're like lethally sick and about to die, does that also apply? Or lethally injured, does that only mean like through like pew-pew combat?
I would rule that, based on what I know of the mission, how it will unfold, that it will apply to any lethal injury, even if that injury is from a disease, a plague, etc.
And why I'm selling that is so that if someone is about to die from this thing, we could throw them in it and freeze them and then like scan them and check them out without them actually dying.
Thematically, I think we have to.
But it's escalation cost of 2. So
And what I would say is if you do not want to give me the 2 threat, you could just give me the 3 momentum you have and we'd be square.
Hmm.
There's also the neural pad, which I don't believe has an escalation cost. If this has some sort of impact on neurological function, that could be useful.
We could take both and just give him the threat.
Oh, I don't think the neural pad has a opportunity cost, so we could theoretically take it for free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll take that then. Yeah.
So it looks like Idru is just taking boxes of medical equipment and then a stasis unit also onto the ship.
Roger that. And I'll take the 2 threat then. Make that decision. So, you all pile into the Wave Rider, and the Wave Rider is different from a normal shuttle in that the only way to get to the Wave Rider is to go behind the bridge where Commander Holton usually sits, and to literally open up what is a Jeffries tube and climb down to the Aero Shuttle bay. As I said, it's as roomy as a runabout. It quite literally sits on the underside of the I-13 saucer section, and as you all settle in and someone takes the con, the
The captain
I-13
does.
captain does. So as captain, as you take the helm and begin undocking, we sort of see from the outside, looking underneath up at the saucer, a big chunk of it sort of disgorges, and you sort of drop a little bit, showing the cavity it leaves behind, and you begin flying down to the surface where the coordinates were located. And as you do so, I need a control and a con at a difficulty of 1, and the Aero Shuttle will assist you with an engines con. And there should be a sheet for the Aero Shuttle.
Does
Yeah,
helm
that.
operations count as a focus?
Most definitely.
Control. Con.
Man, Lovecraft, you are just not having any luck tonight.
Well, Captain made up for it, so.
Yeah. All right. Hey, you get a momentum. So, good news is that you are able to compensate for the radiation output as you pass the threshold of the ring, and it's more or less smooth sailing as you head towards the coordinates. But what all of you would notice looking at either sensor readouts or literally looking out of a window, is that remember how I said the planet was brown? Well, it's more accurate to say now that you're looking is that it's a desolate desert, as in just nothing but rocks, dirt, and dust. Now, every so often, you do see like a dome, like a habitable dome that has some greenery inside of it, but it looks for the most part that most of the quote unquote normal plant life and normal animals and other such things, the radiation from the ring has probably killed all of them, and that the only life you're seeing is within these domes.
That's oddly peculiar. Why haven't they all moved to the rings?
And why have they
Oh,
not
I
attempted to
get it.
deactivate the ring? Captain?
I'm not the best at science stuff. Are we sure
Could I-
there's people living on both, though?
Yeah, there's definitely people living on both.
Okay.
ELH, could I use my science background to try to science how the biome here is happening? Like, is the gamma radiation making all of this?
Yeah, why
This
don't you roll
brownness that we're
me
seeing.
an insight and either medicine or science, difficulty of 1.
Focus in biology, perhaps?
Sure. All right, 2 successes means 1 momentum for you. Yeah, sure enough, you're pretty dang sure that the constant gamma radiation is why everything looks so barren. You think that maybe at one point this used to be a lush forest, maybe even a rainforest, but because of the constant radiation, it all sort of died out. Now, again, you aren't an engineer, as evidenced by the whole needing Tolek's help, but you're like 90% sure that those domes you're seeing with plant life in them are probably the only places where greenery can thrive with the radiation.
Captain, I'd like to say I don't like this planet.
Are the coordinates that we're going to on the planet or the ring?
They are on the planet. More specifically, they are located on the eastern continent. There are three continents in all, and the other two look about the same as the one you're headed for.
And this is probably a long shot, but do we know if that communication we had before was from the planet or from the ring?
It was from the planet. It was from where you're going.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
Could I use I know I'm sorry might be a little late. Could I use one of those momentum to ask a question?
sure, go for it.
Can I tell, is there a logical reason to be bombarding the planet with gamma radiation? Like you would do this to stop something from happening?
Keep the momentum because I can't answer that truthfully. But I like where your head's at. Keep that in mind. I will tell you that much. But yeah,
Well, Captain, I would like to hear from the Regent why they have set up the situation with the ring to bombard the planet with this radiation. I think it's the cause of many of the troubles on this planet, and I'd like to know why.
I'm with you, Doctor. I don't like this. Let's get down there and see what's up.
all right. So, the Aero Shuttle flies on in, and as you maybe break through some clouds, you come to what is essentially a city within a dome. And the coordinates lead you right up to the entrance to the dome. And interestingly, the dome is equipped with some form of an airlock that you sort of slide your Aero Shuttle into the airlock. The airlock closes behind you and sort of cycles you through into the city. So you're still in the Aero Shuttle, but you have cycled through more or less. It's actually very impressive. A very interesting feat of engineering. But once you're inside the dome of the city, you are directed by traffic control to one of the higher towers. And it's worth saying that as far as the city is concerned, it starts sort of low level buildings near the entrance or the exterior of the ring. And the closer you get to the center, the taller and more populous the buildings are. But you are led to one of the highest buildings, let's say the third highest building. And you set her down, no roll required. And waiting for you at the landing pad is the regent, or at least there's someone in the same outfit as the regent. And flanking with them are two or three security individuals that are holding some form of an energy weapon, not pointed at you, just sort of carrying it, showing that, if need be, they are there. And I will put you on this map. And as you sort of step out of the Aero Shuttle, the regent sort of waves a hand and says, "Hello, Captain Shran. It is good to see you in person."
I assume we've also suited up before we got off the shuttle.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably worth saying that you guys suited up, mostly for the record that we need to say that.
Regent, I wish we were meeting on better circumstances. Fill us in. What's going on?
Before I tell you, may I introduce Mutacorp's CEO, Miss Thacklin. It's Thacklin, sorry. Miss Thacklin. And another individual wearing a dark red, almost blood red biosuit. Same sort of opaque face sort of looks at you all, or at least their faceplate does turn in your direction. And Thacklin says, I still don't understand why we needed to bring outsiders into this. And the Regent says, because your methods aren't working. And there's a hump from the CEO, but she says nothing further.
Regent, we noticed that the ring around your planet was bombarding the planet with radiation. Is there a reason for that?
Well, yes. As it turns out, well, first let's get somewhere a little bit more pleasant. If you'll step this way, and if you'll follow her, she'll lead you to a scene that's on the screen right now. So basically, a rooftop greenhouse with nice little bits of greenery, some seating areas, things like that. And once you've all gotten situated, she says, "Right, a little bit of a history lesson. So long ago, about 200 years ago, the Fosstarians, we sent out a deep space exploratory expedition. You know, standard. Hey, we can now explore the stars. What's out there? Um, it returned with knowledge, but it also returned with a virus, and we called it the Outlander virus. And this virus ravaged the population for years, at least until a Mutacorp, and she motions at the CEO, at least until a Mutacorp discovered that concentrated gamma radiation could halt the spread. And in this, a Mutacorp 200 years ago proposed that if we surrounded this planet with the ring that is now in orbit, and saturated the planet with radiation, we would have a permanent cure to the disease.
Also killing your planet at the same time.
Yes, that is one of the side effects. We also all are required to take regular anti-radiation medication from Immutacorp, but considering they are the ones that saved us in the first place, it is no small burden to hold.
Except now this virus or contagion is affecting you again.
Yes, and the Regent looks over at the CEO, and Thacklin says, again, I don't understand why we're trusting any outsiders with this or the cause of this damn thing in the first place. Right, in the interest of cooperation, let me tell you this. We think it's the same bug that affected us 200 years ago, but our normal methods of treatment aren't working. We, of course, have enacted a quarantine. The ring is safe. We screen very heavily before taking anyone up there. And let's just say that any cure or any progress to a core will be the property of a Mutacorp. And I would say, Captain, why don't you roll me a Insight Command? Insight Command difficulty of 1.
Oh, insight. No. Hey.
Hey, 2 successes, another momentum for you. So, if it wasn't clear already, the Regent is sort of holding some cards to her chest, but she's being mostly honest. Thacklin, on the other hand, Thacklin is extremely annoyed. She is being extremely xenophobic, and really just doesn't like the fact that you're here.
Regent, I would like to immediately get to work on identifying and solving your problem as best as we can. I believe that Doctor, I believe that it's your job to. This is your arena, not mine.
Yes, Captain. CEO Thlayson, do you have any data that I could look at about the virus, how it's been spread, and even anything about the history of it when it originated, when it came to your planet? All of that would be very useful.
And she replies, if it will get you out of my hair sooner, yes, we can cut to the chase here. I am willing to work with you and the Mutacorp researchers. I can provide a extremely advanced medical laboratory on the ring where we have some of the quarantined patients that have the latest strain of this virus.
That would be very helpful. I would appreciate any assistance you could provide.
And Zameline speaks up and says, "Ah, yes, that sounds like it's a good thing. Let's go with that." And all of you would notice, without any sort of an insight roll, that there is a momentary glance of the faceplate in the CEO's direction. But it's very brief. It's not a lingering gaze. Just a very brief flicker, and then sort of back to you all.
Regent, what about here? Not on the ring, but here.
Well, we currently have the virus contained to the other two continents, but if history is going to repeat itself, it's going to get everywhere and could wipe out millions.
And I look to the Regent and I say, Regent, I need to be honest with you. I am not the diplomat of this group, not by far. And let me be honest with you. As a doctor, my duty here is to protect life at all costs. Now, what you do with that cure, once we've cured your society, which I'm very confident we can do, you can sell it or do whatever the hell you want to. I don't really care, even though it makes no sense to me. What I am interested in is getting to help your people as soon as possible. Now, if there's any kind of game or information that you're withholding, that's only going to slow us down our progress.
And Zimmeline starts to answer when Thacklin speaks up and says, she is not authorized to tell you that information because it is Immutacorp policy.
I thought the regent here was the head of state. Was I misinformed?
And the CEO laughs and says, "Oh, she is. She is," but says nothing further. And I would say anyone who's curious could roll me a insight and a command. Anyone can do this. Difficulty of 1.
Okay.
I'll give it a try.
I'm not good at this, but I kind of want to do it anyway.
Okay, so it looks like the doctor, everybody but the doctor succeeded, and Saval actually gets some momentum as well. So everybody but Telek, it's very clear at this point that the CEO is radiating hostility. She does not like you, does not like what you stand for, and is only working because she has been requested to do so. But the other thing that you notice is that it's very clear from the body language, even in a hazmat suit, that the CEO is the one in charge here, not the regent.
All right.
Miss Thacklin, before we depart, I do have 1 or 2 questions. This virus, has it been known to spread to other species? And how is it transmitted?
Well, considering we have isolated ourselves since our first expedition, I have no idea if it spreads to other species. You could take off your helmet and test. I'm sure that would be useful.
I presume that was meant to be some form of joke. As you are unfamiliar with my species, you are unaware that we do not possess a sense of humor. Therefore, I cannot respond in the way that you might expect.
Oh, no. No, that wasn't a joke.
And even if it were as a species that does possess a sense of humor, it was not a funny joke.
That's why it wasn't a joke.
Mr. Thacklin, have you enacted a planetary quarantine? Are there any members of your population that can leave this planet?
Ever since our expedition in the building of Ring, the only colony that we have is a moon orbiting the 3rd planet, and we have stopped any and all transmission of vessels or people to and from that little colony.
And is that a recent development or when the outbreak started?
As soon as the outbreak was more or less detected.
I will immediately contact the ship
Mm-hmm.
and Commander Holton. Could you scan to see if there's a colony on the third moon? And
One
if so,
second.
mate,
Sorry about that. Had a jet buzz the house. She says, yes, one moment, sir. Yes, I am detecting that there is some form of a mining colony on the third moon, or the third planet's moon.
can you make contact with them and see if they've been affected by this epidemic?
They're not responding to hails, sir.
Hmm.
And Thacklin just sort of laughs and says, of course they're not responding to hails. We told them not to listen to anyone but me.
Um, Flacklin, um, are there any other corporations on this planet?
No, no, you see, Immunicorp owns the planet.
Oh, that must have been an expensive purchase.
She just sort of smiles and points out one of the windows at the ring. We built that after all. We saved the planet.
Have you ever heard of a Ferengi?
I is this an animal?
I think you and the Ferengi would get along quite well.
If that was a joke, I am not laughing.
It's not.
And the regent can't help but sort of, giggle a little bit, but she very quickly stops when Thacklin looks her way and says, "Right. So it sounds like you all are getting along great. Awesome. Well, let's get you guys up a tether and to one of the labs. Yes, yes. Let's do that." And the regent starts trying to shepherd you guys and the CEO
Is there any way?
towards.
Is there any way we could take our shuttle to the ring? We have some equipment on our ship that would aid us in assisting you with identifying what's going on here.
And Thacklin says, yes, there is a docking ring nearby the quarantine lab. The coordinates are. I'll let the region handle it.
Thank you.
And she leaves. Like, she heads out of the little greenhouse and presumably up through the tether, but does leave you alone with the regent. And once she's gone, the regent visibly deflates and says, "Oh, I must apologize. We are, for lack of a better term, we are very xenophobic because of what the virus did to us 200 years ago. Even I will admit, I have my misgivings having to reach out to outsiders, but I hope you will not look at us as all like Thacklin."
Um, Let me make this clear, Regent. We are here to help the people of this planet, not a corporation.
And she just nods at that and says, yes, I think that will do good. That will be the best for everyone.
Now
And
you are the head of state here. If I tell my people to go to that mining colony and check it out, is that going to be a diplomatic situation?
Yes, I believe it would, because it's technically an Immuticorp holding.
All right.
Regent, if I may ask a question, what was the corporation's status prior to the construction of the ring?
They were a standard pharmaceutical company. They were actually one of the top ones. Uh, Basically manufactured everyday drugs, things like, and the universal translator says aspirin, but it's some equivalent, some sort of an aspirin, some sort of a, and basically goes through your over-the-counter medications that you can just go to any pharmacy in real life and grab. But they list off so many that it's very clear that Yeah, they're kind of like the Bayer or what's another big one? I'm drawing a blank, but they list off enough medications that they were a very important pharmaceutical.
And your approach to space exploration, roughly 200 years in your planet's past, was this privately financed by corporations, or was it a planetary endeavor launched by your government?
A little bit of both. There were some corporate fundings, some sort of a donation for a worthy cause. But let's just say that the stockholders were not happy when the expedition brought back a virus that nearly killed everybody.
And Regent, about that virus, do you have any information that I could take a look at?
Of course, here you are. I thought you might ask. And she hands you a data unit, which will interface with your tricorder and a pad easily enough.
Thank you, Regent. This is very helpful.
Also on that is coordinates for the docking ring. Try not to make the CEO mad, though I don't think I've ever not seen her mad.
Another question, if I may, Regent. Prior to this most recent outbreak of the virus, which occurred how long ago?
This most recent strand broke out approximately a few weeks ago.
Well, I don't mean to pry into your sociological development. Was there anything of any great importance transpiring at around that time?
No, not that I can think of.
Hmm. Very good. Thank you, Regent.
What methods of containment are you using right now to stop the spread?
Well, we are limiting social gatherings. We are permitting travel between nations only on an emergency or an essential basis. We are also making sure that there is regular testing amongst the citizenry.
And how fast is it spreading?
Unfortunately, it's spreading quite virulently, even with all of our methods to contain it. I honestly suspect that this continent, this capital, will more than likely find the effects finding its way here within the month.
Have you been able to identify where it originated in this recent outbreak?
Unfortunately, no. It started what we thought was in the northwestern continent, but after we sort of got the data from the other continent as well, it started at about the same time.
Is there an event that correlates with that?
Again, not that I can really think of. There was no major social event or military event or anything of that nature. This quite literally came out of nowhere.
I turn to Saval and say, we could tie it into the main computer on the 13 to see if there is an astrological event that coincides with it. It could be something from outside the planet.
Given that their records indicate that the virus was extraterrestrial in nature, that is a possibility.
Or maybe something interfered with their gamma radiation machines that they have around the ring that were keeping it in check.
Mr. Tolik, do you think any activity from the system star could create any interference?
Honestly, I think I would have to go look at the machines to be able to tell that. It's possible, but I don't know what they're working with here.
Well, Captain, it seems as though all roads lead to the ring.
Regent, will you be joining us on the ring?
No, I've never been to the ring myself, but
Really?
I simply have had no need to.
Does this Immutacorp heavily restrict access to the ring?
Only Immutacorp employees are normally allowed up, if that's what you mean.
Yes, that kind of was what I meant. And how is everyone down here holding on? How are they doing?
we've managed to stop a panic, but I fear if it gets any worse, it's not looking good. Again, why we thought it necessary to ask outside help at this point.
All right. Doctor, if there's anything else?
Not at the moment, Captain, but Regent, is there a way we can communicate with you if further questions come up?
Yes, you can reach me at the following frequency, and she gives you a frequency that you could hail them on.
And Regent, I would just like to say that if there is an outcome that we determine is best for your planet, that is in contrary to your CEO's wishes, how would you like us to proceed?
And this is probably the most body language you've seen of her. She fidgets, sort of rubs the back of her helmeted head, and eventually says, if it will save people, let me know.
Thank you, Regent.
And yeah,
That's all we need.
She sort of lets you all go, lead you back to your shuttle, all of that. And I did want to have a scene on the Wave Rider, because I think you all have a lot to discuss when there's not prying ears around. So we're going to cut to the Wave Rider. You guys can position yourself where you would like on this map. But yeah.
Not exactly the most friendly group of people.
I'm not sure we're here to judge them on their politics.
It seems to me the CEO at least was more concerned about withholding information than helping their people.
Given that the corporation rose to preeminence in that civilization as a result of the viral outbreak, they would be reluctant to see anyone else find a cure.
They might just want it controlled rather than cured. So us coming in and potentially taking it away forever might be a little bit scary to them.
We are also unaware at this point whether this disease is of natural origins or if it was created.
And we don't know if it can transmit across their species.
I'm still curious about that colony. Commander Saval, do you think there's any way we could approach that colony without being detected, so we could scan them and see if they've been affected by this virus?
We could scan the sector for any unusual astronomical anomalies and attempt to use one of those as cover, but I am uncertain as to the nature of the sensor systems that they have on board the ring. I would be unable to make a determination in that regard without further information.
When we get on the ring, maybe you could do some work to ascertain the ability of their sensors. Don't do anything illegal, but if you can make some observations, maybe that could help. And in the meantime, we'll get the I-13 to scan the system for any strange astrological events.
Captain,
Very
if
good,
I may
Captain.
make a recommendation, and I know I say this not as a diplomat, but forgive me, why does it matter if they know that we're scanning the planet or the moon? We're here to help them. This corporation may not exactly be doing this planet any favors. If we can save lives, who cares if they know that we're breaking whatever law they have?
To be frank with you, Doctor. I'm with you. And at a certain point, if we have to, I'm not against doing that.
Because what if there's no problem on the moon at all and everyone there is perfectly healthy? If there's something going on in just this planet, that knowledge alone would give us a heads up.
We're at step one. Let's see if this is something we can fix without doing any of that.
And I must say, Captain, I would be hesitant to alienate any further races, given that the Federation is already embroiled in a war with the Dominion. We can ill afford to turn anyone else against us. They might go running into the arms of our enemies.
I'm not even sure they're aware of our enemies. But that's another point. As much as I'd like to get my curiosity, will get the best of me at some point. And I would like to see what's on that colony. But for now, I think the best course of action is to play this by the books.
All right. So, as the Wave Rider is headed on up to dock with the ring, I do have a question for our good doctor. Are you going to be taking a look at the information that was given to you by the Regent?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. I'd like you to roll me a reason and a science here. And the reason it's not medicine is because it is more related to biology than it is the actual practice of medicine, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, could I use a mental repository to take a moment, consider it, and lower the task by one?
You certainly may.
And a focus in biology?
Yeah.
What's my difficulty here?
Your difficulty is a 2.
Cool. So does that repository lower it to a 1?
I believe it does.
Cool. So science insight, you said?
Science and reason.
Cool.
Two successes. Get a free momentum. So as you look through the information, a few things occur to you. And of course, if you want to give me momentum for a question, you may do so. But what you notice is that, first of all, the strain, the old strain, appears to be a virus that is similar to the Achilles fever, which is a disease that can wipe out millions in a matter of days. However, what you're noticing differently is that, just at a glance, the Achilles fever needs pretty rare materials that you can't really synthesize to produce a vaccine. But you think that standard antiviral medications would work on this Outlander virus, which is what they have it in their records as. And the other thing you get is that as you're looking at the Outlander virus specifically, at the genome, at the sequences, the DNA sequences, what you're realizing is there's missing sequences, as in they are just not in the records at all. And point of clarification, this is all the old strain. You would have to get a sample of the new strain to make a comparison.
Okay.
This may or may not count as a question, but I'll just throw this out there to the group to see if it's a reasonable one to ask. But does it seem like those missing sequences were artificially excised, or is there evidence of some kind of mutation?
I get a free question from mental repository anyway. I think that's a good one.
I would say that it's conspicuous that these genetic sequences are missing, but I like where your head's at, is what I would say.
All right.
I think we keep the momentum unless you guys have more questions.
No, I don't have anything more about that.
Yeah, I think that's all I got for now.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm busy doing a barrel roll.
So as the captain does a little fancy flying, You actually get up to the ring and dock with one of the airlocks. And waiting for you on the other side is none other than Thacklin herself. And she just sort of motions at you to follow. And very quickly, as you step out of the airlock, you realize that two or three guards are sort of stepping in behind you, making sure that you don't get lost, quote unquote. But Thacklin eventually leads you to a very large laboratory filled with all sorts of advanced scientific instruments and computers. And there is an enormous window that affords you a sort of a scene. God, I can do words today. A scenic view of the planet below. And what you're also seeing is that there's a few technicians working at some of the consoles that are in here, but there's also three beds that are placed behind a shimmering force field, and there are three Fosstarians in hospital gowns that are on each of these beds. And let me put you all on this map. And as you walk in, Thacklin just sort of offhandedly motions at the three behind the force field, and she says, these three were taken from the northwestern continent. One's elderly, points at one of them. That's Jalem. That one there is Nevla, and the young boy is Xanodel. You can tell they aren't great, but hey, if you can figure out what's going on with them, by all means.
And as soon as we stepped on, even while we were being escorted to this room, I probably would have pulled out my medical tricorder and began to scan everyone, the guards, Thacklin, to get a baseline of their physiology before we even got to the infected.
We're going to do a roll here, but it's going to be one of those things where I'm not going to tell you the difficulty. So it's going to be a reason medicine. And because you have mental repository, the difficulty, the hidden difficulty will be lowered, but there is a difficulty that, again, I'm keeping hidden for thematic purposes.
Does it go down one more for having a medical tricorder?
It does indeed.
I would spend 3 momentum on 2 extra dice.
Yeah, that feels right. Focus in biology, perhaps?
Oh, yeah.
And forgive me, you said medicine insight?
Reason. Very nice. That is a total of 4 successes. And 3 was the difficulty to beat after all of your reductions. So you actually get a point of momentum. Now what you learn is that the guards are, quote-unquote, infected with the old virus. Like, they have the antibodies that shows their bodies have amounted an immune response to the old virus. But what you notice is that Thacklin has no signs of the virus whatsoever. As in, not even the old virus is in her system.
I don't think I would keep that a secret. I think as soon as I finished scanning, I would directly confront the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Thacklin, I just noticed from my scan that you don't seem to have any antibodies for the Outlander virus. Are you aware of that?
I am aware, yes, but I don't know what you're exactly implying.
I'm implying that you do not have the antibodies.
Well, I can assure you that there is a perfectly reasonable explanation for that.
Did you happen to grow up on the ring here?
I did, yes.
Do you not have any antibodies because you were never infected?
Why don't you worry more about those 3 in the force field? I think that one there is, well, take a look for yourself. And the middle-aged woman in the middle, Nevla, begins screaming in excruciating pain. and it's heartbreaking. Like it's hard to hear, let alone look at.
Um, I'll leave the doctor stuff to the doctor and everyone else, and I'll go over to the CEO and start just talking about their their uh, their income and profits for the year, and how the Federation would be an interesting trading partner for them if
Mm-hmm.
they were to change their ideas, and just like coming up with just things to keep them occupied while everyone else gets to gets to work here.
Okay.
Not even really trying to distract. Just I don't feel the medicine stuff is definitely not the captain's strong suit.
But you're being a good distraction.
Mr. Tillich, this might be a good time to use that holographic device we've put together. We could project ourselves into the force field and see if we can help this Nebula and see what more we can learn.
Sounds like a good idea. And Talek is going to take the two backpacks, put them on either side, like the far sides. That way we can cover up as much of the force field as possible
Mm-hmm.
since they have a limited range. And just sort of turn them on and see how well they start working
Okay.
since they are kind of jury rigged together.
Yeah, roll me two challenge dice if you would. You do not want to see effects. Okay. So with one effect, what happens is one unit activates just fine. It sort of projects a holographic image, much like the EMH, into the space. However, the second unit sort of sputters and sparks and just does nothing.
Well, I'm going to mess with it and see if I can't tinker with it a little bit. Use this one while
Let you cut off there at the end.
you can.
Thank you, Commander. And I'll start probably as I'm scanning Miss Nevla. I will start asking her where she's from, trying to be in conversation if she's in lots of pain. I'm not going to give her something right away till we know what's going on with her.
Okay. So Nevla, because I would rather not blow out the mic, she does the sort of thing where she's screaming the answers. And yeah, she'll tell you about that she's been separated from her family, she's been taken to the ring, she doesn't want to die here. Standard heartbreaking things that no doctor or really anyone wants to hear. However, as you're doing all this, why don't you give me a reason and a medicine, a difficulty of 2. Could also be a reason science if you wanted.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'll follow that up with why. Does this relate to the Outlander virus? Because I have testing a theory and theory into practice. There's 2 talents. So if it relates to that virus,
it does.
then
It most
I get all
definitely
those talent
does.
benefits. Okay. Then I'd like to go with science because that'll lower the difficulty by 1 and give me a free D20.
Okay. It's almost like this mission was designed for you.
Yeah. So science insight, you said.
Yep.
I think I'm just gonna go. Actually, this feels important. I'd like to spend one. Well, shoot, I already have. I need to spend both for the 4th dice.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just go for it.
And I think you're keeping the momentum, Nick.
Yeah, sorry, that's my indecisiveness going there. Biology's a focus.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. That is 3 successes, which is 1 more than you needed, so you get a point of momentum. So I'm going to tell you a few more important things. You now have a scan of the new strain of the virus, and based on your previous interaction and study of the data that was given to you, remember how you asked as if this was a mutation? Well, that's kind of what it is. It is a mutated strain of the virus. that is resistant to the radiation that suppressed the older strains of it, which is maybe why the virus has resurfaced over 200 years, is because instead of eliminating the virus, they've just been suppressing it rather than getting rid of it. And something else, I would tell you that based on another scan, remember how I said that there were genetic sequences that were missing? Yeah, you're now seeing those missing sequences within Nevla.
So the conclusion that I'm going to come to is that perhaps the Outlander virus was genetically created for her, or not for her specifically, but for people like her in some way. Is
Maybe
that
we should
correct?
ask. We should ask where she came from.
Well, she's currently in pain. Is there, and I'm sure I might need to make another roll for this, is there a clear way of treating her without making her condition worse?
I would say, based on what you would know as a doctor, that if you were to give her a, what is it, Cordrazine, I believe is the pain one. If you were to just give her a simple dose of that, should be fairly simple.
I think what, yeah, I can, gosh, I guess there's a problem with how to actually get it through the force field without lowering it. I'll ask one of the guards, is there any risk to me lowering this force field to treat her?
If you need to pass anything through the force field, you may use our drop box there. And you didn't even realize it until it was pointed out to you, but recessed into the floor is almost like you know how in some places they have sort of glass around a teller window, and then there's that sort of dip below the window that you push money and cards through. Same sort of thing here, except it's more like a box. You put something in a box on your end, you push it through to the other side, and then they lift it up out of the floor.
But what if I would like myself to be inside of the force field? That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, I see.
Couldn't you pass it to the hologram?
What the guards do is they look at you, then they look at the CEO, and mid conversation, the CEO kind of looks up and says, What's going on? Why are you looking at me?" Sir, they want to go inside." "Well, don't let them inside."
I think, yeah, let's try the captain's plan first, and the hypospray that could easily be done by the hologram. I
Okay.
think Idru would play nice at this point, just to try to ease the woman's pain.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that you're able to successfully deal with her pain, and the moment the hypospray go in, her body relaxes. She calms down. Maybe says a few words, something along the lines of "thank you," before drifting off into a painless sort of, not a coma, but some sort of unconsciousness. Um, but it is at this point that you now have the task of developing a some form of a response, something that would fight off the disease. Now, this is going to be a little bit difficult. Specifically, it would be a reason medicine at a difficulty of 3.
Okay, that doesn't sound too bad.
I'd like to ask the CEO if are all three of these people from the planet?
They are, yes.
Has anyone from the ring been infected?
No, we keep very stringent quarantine on who's allowed up to the ring.
I commend you. That's an impressive task.
Well, again, we built it. We own it. It's not that hard.
I think the Federation would be very interested in everything everything I've seen from your corporation is very impressive. I think even if it was just a trade of ideas, and I'm saying this all as a bluff,
Right,
just to make him feel better.
right. Which, you know, is distracting enough that the CEO's attention goes back to you rather than on Idru.
Sorry, I'm just considering. Could I sell you on using science instead of medicine to put this together? Because I've been examining them and it's a loose connection, but I'm now familiar with a scientific solution to deal with both viruses, or the new virus.
I will, but I would make the complication range a 19 to 20.
That sounds fair.
I
'Cause I'm
also have a
trying-
question.
Sure.
Can the doctor be assisted by the holographic doctor?
Well, he's controlling the holographic doctor.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I'm gonna run it by you here. Can I use my mental repository talent to lower the difficulty to a 2?
You can.
And then since it is using science relating to the virus, a previous task could lower it to a 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get an extra d20 from testing a theory. So I believe I'm rolling 3 dice, science insight.
Yep. Or sorry, reason science.
Reason science, cool. Biology or emergency medicine is a focus?
Both would apply.
This could also be a determination thing, right?
Yeah, I'm saving it in case I roll terribly. It's a difficulty
Fair
1,
enough.
so I hope I make it. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you make it. That is 4 momentum, and you're now capped on it. Yeah.
Wow.
That is very impressive. So,
I'm glad you saved that.
yeah. So what you're learning, I'm going to give this to you free. Not only are you able to identify a antigen that would provoke an immune response that will fight off the disease, you're able to get a sample of it that you could discreetly pass back to yourself. Obviously, quarantine in effect that you wouldn't get it from picking up the hypo spray. Some form of decontamination would occur to make sure you are not worried by it.
Yeah, we definitely do that.
But what I would say is that you have all the pieces you need to go back to the I-13 to develop a cure, a potential cure for this. But I am going to spend some thread here that the cure is something that's going to require periodic modification. Sort of like the real life flu vaccine, where it's a new one every year. Something like that has to occur here.
That's fair. The other two, Jalen and Zundel, are they exhibiting any bad symptoms, like any painful symptoms or anything like that?
I mean, I could spend threat and I could be mean and make them experience it, but I don't feel the need to be mean right now. So they're still sort of in and out of consciousness, running a high fever, but they're not in excruciating pain like Nevla was.
Well, then I get close to Saval and I say, listen, I have a really good handle on a cure for all of this. I need to get back to the shuttle.
Very good. Then let us depart.
So, Mr. Slackland, your profit margins are incredible, and I hate to say this, but I think the Federation would be envious of anything close to that.
Yes, you've said as much about 3 times now. Are you done here yet?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I've taken too much of your time. I can't believe this, but I'm an incredible fan of yours. Can I have your frequency so I can trade communications with you later?
She just sort of looks at you like you're an idiot and just sort of says no.
I understand, and I back away. I think we must be returning to our ship. Thank you very much, CEO.
Guards, see them back to their ship and make sure they get on their way. And of course, a few guards kind of come up and begin escorting you out. And we'll cut back to the Wave Rider after you all have cycled back through.
I think that if the Ferengi find out about these people, they will just wipe them clean.
Not the other way around, Captain?
I was being facetious, Commander.
In the same way that I don't understand humor, I am not entirely familiar with this concept either, but I'll take your word for it, Captain.
So,
Captain,
Doctor, I'm guessing you got something good there.
Yes, I have a good handle on a treatment for these people. It's not going to be a complete cure, unfortunately. It will need modifications over time, but I think it's a good start. I've also uncovered a bit of disturbing evidence that perhaps the original Outlander virus was engineered to work on a specific group of people. I'm not entirely convinced that it was a naturally occurring phenomenon.
I'm with you, Doctor. It seems oddly strange that a strain of virus is so contagious, yet doesn't afflict anyone on the ring. Even with the most strict restrictions in place, that seems hard to believe.
And ELH, I completely forgot about this, but it's something I should have asked, and I'd certainly be willing to spend momentum on it. Could I tell from all the examinations I've been doing if this is something that's going to cross species? Like if we came in contact with it, we would be infected?
Yes, and that is very important that if you were to expose yourselves to the virus, as in, you leave your EV suits and, I don't know, make out with one of the Fosstarians, yeah, you'd get it.
Okay. So unfortunately, Captain, I think your relationship with Ms. Tacklin might need to be put on hold for a while. While they don't have it, we could be exposed.
Don't worry, the CEO is not my type.
I do have one question, though. If this is genetically modified to affect certain part of the population, is this something that we would have to report? I mean, specifically as some genetic modification of their populace? Even if it's just modifying a virus to affect part of them, is that something important?
We would need proof.
Yeah, and I would say the one thing I would remind you of is that they said it came from a expedition to the stars, and it came back that way. And remember that the ring was built after the fact.
Commander, we would need solid proof that there's been some sort of malicious intent. And even then, it would be a matter for the Fosstarians to deal with, unless they ask for our help.
Another thing to consider, Captain, is the virus is a mutation. Even though it was suppressed by the ring, it's still mutated. I don't have any evidence that shows that this ring is actually effective in what it's doing.
No, I think the ring is solely where the rich parts of the corporation can stay.
Doctor, is there any indication as to the particular subsection of the population that the virus was originally intended to affect?
Unfortunately, I don't think we have that information as of yet.
And again, we don't have evidence that this was manipulated to attack a certain part of the population. It's just interesting that it's only afflicted a certain few. Well, a certain many.
What I can say is Thacklin did not have any antibodies from the Outlander virus, which means they did not have it. So they therefore were not vulnerable to the mutated portion of the virus. It's possible. I have no evidence, but it's possible that Thacklin and others who are immune have something to do with the original virus and the ring. There's a lot of coincidence there, but as of yet, no direct evidence.
We may be able to secure such direct evidence if we were to return to the ring in a more clandestine fashion.
I don't think that's necessary.
That is your decision, of course, Captain.
But Captain, there's nothing, if that is the case, there's nothing to stop these people, and by these people I mean Thacklin and the rest of their corporation, from potentially working against the rest of the population once we leave. We could solve their problem today, but it reemerges tomorrow.
I never agreed when the CEO said that our solution was their property. I just didn't say anything. And if we do find a solution, even if we give the quote-unquote cure, that doesn't prevent us from giving all the rest of the information to the Regent to
But
do with that as they please.
It would seem that the corporation has insinuated itself so deeply into the civilization that there exists no other power on the planet that would be capable of creating and then modifying the cure as needed each year in order to combat new strains of the virus. I'm afraid that the only group that might be able to actually employ it would be Immutocorp.
And we're not here to judge these people for how their civilization is formed. So I'm completely against any overt form of changing their way of life.
Another thing to consider, Captain, the guards did have trace of the Outlander virus, but Thacklin did not. So it's possible that not all members of Immunocore are immune to this or have had anything to do with the current situation. It may only be select members, i.e. the leadership.
Now that you've said that, I'd like you to roll me an Insight Medicine, difficulty of 2.
I'd take some dice for that.
Yeah. Do any of my focuses here apply? I would suggest one, but I have no idea where you're going.
One of them would apply, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to get 2 dice here, so spending 3 momentum. You guys okay with that?
Do it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that you get your momentum right back. Good job. Idru, you realize now why the CEO didn't have the antibodies. Her immune system has been genetically altered to naturally sort of fight off the disease. That's probably not correct medically, but that's what I'm going with.
Do I have enough evidence or enough information to replicate this procedure on others?
On another Fosstarian, yes.
Yeah. I think instead of pursuing the cure that I came up with at first, I'm probably going to go with the genetic manipulation route to make it. Yep.
I presume
And
you're not telling us this.
I don't think I'm going to tell you guys that. No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because genetic manipulation is not allowed.
it got Idru in jail. He thinks it's the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're not telling us, you're not telling us. Maybe you
I
just
don't-
tell us this is a cure.
So, Idru, what are you going to do with this new information, with this new revelation? I would remind you that the Regent did say that if it would save people, to tell her. And I'll tell you what, I'll even offer you that, Prime Directive or not, my duty is to heal is a value of yours. If you immediately call the Regent and give her everything, I will give you a point of determination.
Do it.
Before I do that, because I'm pretty much definitely gonna do that. One question: so this genetic manipulation, am I sure like this would stop anyone on the planet from getting it, or is this sort of like a thing that had to happen when she was born that is now not something that can retroactively be done?
This is something that, with the technology level that you've seen so far of them, of the Fosstarians, and with Starfleet, this is something that you literally could just introduce some form of an aerosol and spread it across the planet that way. Almost like, not a virus, but something that would sort of spread and mutate in a helpful way. So maybe still a virus, just a helpful one.
That sounds right up Idri's alley. Yeah, I would definitely share that with the Regent.
Okay. So, where are you going to call the region from? Because most of the consoles in the runabout are up front.
I would say, Captain, if you don't mind, I'd like to take a step back to the back of the ship, one of the science stations, and collect some of my data.
Feel free, Doctor. I'm just busy doing loop-de-loops in the shuttle here.
And yeah, I would retreat back to the science station and make a call to the Regent. I would understand probably that as soon as I make the call, the captain or Saval would know. So I'm going to get this package together and try to get it sent out as quickly as possible.
Before he does that, I just have a quick question.
Sure.
Based on my experience as essentially a chief of security, my infiltration experience, would I be able to make some kind of roll to assess whether he was acting strangely or if he might be deceiving us in some way?
I would allow...
It would probably be pretty obvious, too. I don't think Idra is the kind of person that's going to hide his feelings very well.
Yeah, let's go with that then. I was going to make you roll, but let's go with that.
Okay. When Saval sees that Lieutenant Commander Idru is about to send off that message, he gets a kind of warning on his console. He would try to conceal it.
Ah, so you're not even going to let the captain know.
That's correct.
Okay, well, Saval, I need you to do a daring security, difficulty of... I'm going to spend threat here. Difficulty of 4. And this is essentially going to keep both Shran and Telek from noticing that a transmission has been sent.
Okay. I'd like to tap my value. The value of a life is determined by a simple moral calculus.
Okay.
So he recognizes that the corporation and its actions are entirely immoral for him, and that the value of the lives on the surface are worth infinitely more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd like to spend 2 momentum to buy an extra die.
Okay.
No applicable focus.
And that is 4 successes, which is what you needed. So, Idru, with unknowingly Saval's help, you send off that message to the Regent. And Shran and Telek, maybe you're still consumed with figuring out why the backpack broke. Shran, you're doing loop-de-loops.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm 100% tinkering.
But
you wonder why I've been quiet? I'm just messing around with things. Probably breaking it a little bit.
You got to break it to fix it.
And I would probably come out at this point. I'm not going to hide what I did. I would walk out to the main cabin and take a deep breath. Captain, I'm going to need your attention for a moment.
Oh?
So, I need to come clean. I uncovered from CEO Thacklin that the reason they were immune to the Outlander virus and also thereby the new virus was because of genetic manipulation that gave them a natural immunity. I discovered that this genetic manipulation could also be applied to the rest of the population and effectively cure all of them without any need for future injections or modifications. Well, I collected that information and I gave it to the Regent.
You did what?
I collected that information into a communication package that I just sent to the Regent.
Doctor, I am very unhappy with what you've just done.
I understand, Captain. As a doctor, there is no way on good conscience I could leave this planet to the whims of a corporation when I had the cure in my possession.
The cure, which is to modify the genetics of the people on the planet.
That is correct.
Well, Captain,
Well, it's done.
I was going to say, Captain, you're about to be even more angry because there's a hail coming in. It's coming from the ring.
Put it on screen.
Well, appearing on screen is a bald woman. Looks very, very stern. And the moment she starts speaking, you know that this is Thacklin. And she says, I knew it was a mistake bringing you all here. I luckily intercepted your communication before it got to the Regent. I will make you an offer. If you leave now and pretend you didn't find a cure, that it was just too difficult, I'll let you leave with your lives, and maybe the Federation we can do business with in the future. Otherwise, and what I would say is, Saval, you're now picking up on the Aero Shuttle sensors that the part of the ring is opening up, and coming out of it is a ship. Otherwise, we'll have to do things a little bit more violently.
Can I ascertain the nature of this vessel, its weapons complement?
I would say if you give me one momentum, I will just give that to you free.
I'd like to do that.
Okay.
If that's all right with everyone.
Oh boy.
All right.
Is there any way that I could deploy this genetic thing myself from the Aero Shuttle?
You would have to go into the back, make it an aerosol. It's possible, yeah.
I've got 2 determination on my side here, so
you do.
I might sneak away while this is happening.
That'll be interesting.
Back to jail.
It'll be a
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know if we're because we're heading towards the I-13. I don't know if we're close enough to the atmosphere at this point.
Yeah, you'd have to dip back in, but let's give Saval his answer first. So, yeah, Saval, they are a Scale 3 vessel, which means they are basically the same size as the I-13. They're not tremendously advanced, but you are detecting that they have both phase cannons as well as spatial torpedoes. And they are already heading in your direction. And as far as, let me actually put us on, yeah, I know, spatial torpedoes, they make the enemy feel bad for you. As I put us back on this map and actually get the Immunicorp ship on screen, let's say the I-13 is probably about 3 rounds away if you spend all 3 rounds moving towards the I-13. So it is possible to reach the I-13 and vice versa, but it's going to take 3 turns. Which in the meantime means that you have to, in the Aero Shuttle, deal with the strike ship. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop up a turn order here. Throw you all in. And I'm going to let you guys go first.
Captain,
Oh.
I'd like...
I was going to respond. I guess that would be a turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically we're not in combat yet, but I am tracking turns like we are in combat.
Because I would like to say, CEO Thacklin, what has just happened is an act by a rogue agent of my crew who took it upon themselves to do this. They will be severely punished by Starfleet. I have no intention of engaging in combat with your vessels. If you fire upon us, we will use the full might of our ship, and lives will be lost. That's up to you.
Do you have diffuse the tension?
No, I have persuasion as a focus, but no.
I'm going to make this difficulty 4, presence and command. And persuasion would apply as a focus.
That tells me that they're very set on what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I care to roll.
Okay.
Actually, if they're not receptive to it, I think we're gonna have a shooting. We're gonna fight.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much what happens. Is Thacklin
I
hears
just need that on record. I need that on record.
Need that on record? I hear you. So Thacklin just sort of laughs and says, no, you are in your little shuttle carrying all the data that could ruin a mutacorp, so we're just going to fix that problem. But I'll be nice and say that is not your turn, quote unquote. Because that was just talking.
I need to look at the minor action.
And I think there should be, I did put all the references in there.
Interact. Storm. Comms. What is... Damn. Telling the I-13 what's happening would take an action.
It would, yes. You would have to use an action to communicate with them, and there is the chance that it would get jammed.
I think since I'm at the helm, I'd like to take evasive action.
Okay. So that is going to be a controlling con, difficulty of 1. And I believe this is assisted by the ship, I think. Is it not? Let me check the book, because I'm like 90% sure that the ship helps you too.
I would say that Saval would have tried to recommend to the captain that he step aside and allow Saval to pilot the vessel, but...
I've got this ship assisting with structure con for evasive action.
Yep, that's what I said.
I kind of want to fly it. You got the weapons. I want to fly it.
Does the Wave Rider even have weapons?
It does, actually.
Of course it does.
It has both a phaser bank and micro torpedoes.
It's very fancy.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it would be a daring con, difficulty of 1, and the ship would assist with a structure con.
It's the reference says it's control con.
That's something that I think is errata, question mark? Because I'm looking at the core book and it says daring con there. So let's go by the daring con, because I think that's right, because it also mentions the ship assist.
Does my focus and helm operations apply?
Oh yeah.
And I'll burn a momentum just to be safe.
Okay.
I don't know if I should roll for the ship since I got us in so much trouble.
Well, then you should get us out of it, so go right ahead.
That's fair.
Hey, it's the one success we need to see. Does the ship get you momentum? All right, it doesn't, but you succeed. So you are now even harder to hit, which is a good thing, because you are a small craft, which means that you're already +1 harder to hit, which means that the Immutacorp strike craft has a difficulty 4 to hit you with its phase cannons. So let's... Oh, but before I do any of that, do you want to spend 2 momentum to retain the initiative, or do any of you have quick action?
I have quick action, yes.
Then you may go ahead and act.
I took the 1 power off for evasive action.
All right.
I kind of feel in the game it makes sense to shoot, but diplomatically, I feel like we shouldn't fire until they fire.
I would agree on that point.
as much as that feels off in a game like this.
Well,
If
go ahead.
Sorry, if they act, could we then quick to action our next action and go twice?
Yeah, you don't have to use the quick to action this turn.
Okay, I would suggest that's what we do then.
Okay. All right, then yes, they are indeed going to fire at the Wave Rider, and I'm going to spend 3 threat, which leaves me with 1 threat remaining. I'm going to spend 3 threat to give them some extra dice. Which is a problem, because that is a total of 2, 3, 4, 5 successes, 1 more than they needed. So the Wave Rider is going to be struck with the phase cannons as the strike ship swoops in. And I believe you have a resistance of 2, so that's only going to be 6 damage. However, that's 2 breaches, which could be a problem. Let's see what happens. Again, I'm not trying to TPK you. I just want that clear.
It doesn't sound like it.
Structure. Okay. So structure does mean I have to roll a challenge dice. Okay, someone's getting injured. This is interesting.
Oh, darn.
I'm going to roll 1d4, and it's going to go by our order in Discord. And whoever gets the lucky number is the one that's injured. Number 3. Who's lucky number 3? Oh, God, I'm picking on Talek. I'm sorry, Talek.
Oh.
So, again, as the ship swoops in and fires its phase cannons, not only are your shields completely wiped out as a hole is punctured in the hull, and of course emergency bulkheads slam into place to prevent the loss of atmosphere, but Talek, unfortunately, your console literally explodes from the overload and sends you to the ground lethally injured, which means you're going to need medical attention before the end of the scene. It also means this hit that your sensors are down, which means anything that involves your sensors are going to be at an increased difficulty. And that is the Immutacorp's turn. So it's now going to be the player's turn.
I kind of have to go because I have to help Tolik.
Oh, we only have 2 turns, right?
No, technically you're supposed to have 2, but I'm going to give 1 for each player. So 4 turns.
In character.
Help! I need medical attention.
Because I think the things we want to have happen here are, we want to return fire, we want to tell the I-13 what's going on, and we want to give medical assistance to Talek. So that's three things I want to accomplish, but I'm not sure which order to do it. And also, since we're on a shuttle, I'm not sure about who gets to do what task.
I would say it's very flexible when you're on a shuttle.
So as I move to Talek, I say to the Captain, if you turn me over to them, I have all the information they're looking for. There's no reason for them to attack the shuttle. They'll let you all go.
That's completely unacceptable, Doctor.
I have all the information that they're worried about, though. There's no reason for them to kill the rest of the crew.
I'll keep it under advisement. Now help Talek.
Captain, we can't take another hit like that. Our shields are already down. There's no way that we can survive until the I-13 arrives.
I'm aware of that, Commander.
All right.
Anyone can jump in. Anyone can jump in here. If you want to just do something, just do it.
Yeah, let's...
I would treat Talek while we're considering what to do here.
Yeah, so I believe... 1 second, I've got a jet flying overhead.
By the way, I think Talek only has to be addressed by the end of the scene, not the end of the round. So she's got...
Yeah, there's plenty of time. I'm just being over dramatic.
I would also say that if you did get her back up, she would be able to take a turn. And Talek would be able to, I don't know, restore shields, restore power. Many things could happen. So I believe first aid, if I remember correctly, is a daring medicine or is it control medicine?
I think it's daring medicine.
Yeah, but it's only difficulty 1, so, don't roll complications.
How many momentum? So we've only got 4 momentum, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think because I've got 2 determination, I'm going to spend 1, and it's prime directive or not, my duty is to heal.
Okay.
So medicine daring difficult, or let's say a focus in emergency medicine.
Oh, yeah.
And that's 4 with the 2 from my determination.
Yeah, which means you get 3 successes. And Talek, you come back to consciousness with Idru over you.
Hopefully not quite as creepy as that sounds.
It seems a little bit creepy.
you-
Talek is just gonna gather himself, get up, and find any console to go to, hopefully.
And yeah, what I would say, this is probably a good time to use your quick to action.
I think we also took 2 momentum from that, did we?
You took 2, but or no, you.
I used determination, so we should have just gained 1.
Yeah, you gained 1.
Okay.
I almost drew 12 cards, and that wouldn't have been good.
I think that would have been great.
That sounds
Let's do
great to
that.
me.
Can I have 12 momentum, please?
No 12 momentum. But yeah, what would who would like to act next?
I would like to act and restore the shield.
Okay, we can certainly do that. So restoring shields is going to be a control engineering, and the structure will be, or sorry, the ship will assist with structure engineering. The difficulty is normally a 1, but because you have no shields at the moment, it becomes a difficulty of 2. It also has a power requirement of 1.
I don't know if I have any applicable foci.
Let's take a look.
I don't think so.
Power systems? I mean, you're restoring...
She does have power, or Talek does have Starship
I
power
do.
systems. You do.
Shields
And then I
run on
rolled
power.
it with no.
Nice. Hey, you got the 2 you needed. But let's see, a 10 and a 16, yeah, no crit. All right, so the good
I think
news...
you could use that momentum to fill up the shields.
Yeah, I was
And
going
the
to say,
ship is-
so the good news is you have succeeded at it, so you immediately get 2 shield back, and you can spend 1 point of momentum to get another 2 points of shield.
And we
I
still
would
have to roll
indeed
the
like
ship,
to do
right?
that.
Yeah, still roll the ship for structure engineering. Could help you.
Nope, doesn't help.
All right, well. Now, what I would say is I will throw you a bone, Talek, because I feel like I haven't given you much to do. If you give me all your momentum, I will allow you to overcharge the shields and grant yourself a +1 resistance to the next attack. And you would have all your shields back. However, you would also be at 1 power.
I mean, I don't know what everybody else wants to do, but I know that Talek would 100% do that. So if you were all are fine with me doing that, Talek will 100% do.
Oh, just do it.
Idru's too busy standing over you. So creepy.
So creepy. All right. So your full shields come back up. You go down to 1 power, and yeah, you're sitting pretty. You're fairly confident that between the resistance and your evasive action, which is still in effect, that you should be okay. But it is the strike ship's turn again, and they are simply going to do a scan for weakness on you, which they succeed at. So their next shot is going to be scan for weakness, which means it is going to have piercing. So I believe the only one who has not acted at this point is Saval. So Saval, what are you doing?
There are 2 options here for us. I could either fire phasers. Well, actually, I can't, because that would take power, and we lose our shields if I if I attacked, right?
That is correct, yes.
We have the torpedo, but that would give him threat.
And let me just check the modulate shields. Does that take a point of power?
I think it does. Let's check. No,
Does it say-
modulating. No, it does. Power requirement of 1.
Okay. Then
I'll make you
I
a
would have-
deal. I'll make you a deal because I want to give you something to do. If you give me 2 threat for every point of power you want to spend, I'll let you stay at 1 power.
Hailing the I-13 would also not take power.
yeah, then I'll hail the I-13 and inform them of our situation.
Okay. You are going to be then doing a control engineering, and the Wave Rider will assist you with a communications and engineering. This is a difficulty of 3 because the Immunicorp ship and the ring are attempting to jam you.
I would like to use augmented ability control, so that gives me 1 free success.
Okay.
And I'll give you 1 threat to buy an extra die.
Okay.
No applicable focus.
3 successes, which is exactly what you need. Let's see if the ship gets you any momentum.
And what was it for the ship?
That is a sensors and, or not, sorry, a
Comms?
comms and engineering.
And it was a difficulty 3, right? So we get 1 momentum with augmented ability control.
You got it. Yeah, you do get 1 momentum.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got that.
You get a line to the I-13, and it's Commander Holton. She says, this is the I-13. What's going on out there? Do you need assistance? We're detecting weapons fire.
We're under attack by an Immunicorp strike ship. We need assistance immediately. Our shuttle has been heavily damaged.
Got it. We'll be there in a moment. So, what I'm going to say is the Immunicorp ship is going to get its last action, and then the I-13 will come into turn order at the start of the next round. So the Immunicorp is going to fire at you all once more. And let's see what happens. Let's see what the dice gods have in store for you. Well, the good news is that they have only rolled 2 successes, and they need 3 to hit you. So, their phase cannons open fire and miss the Wave Rider completely as the captain masterfully does an evasive pattern. And that is the end of round 1. And as promised, at the top of the initiative order, the I-13 comes in, and the I-13 is literally going to do a micro warp jump to put themselves right on top of almost the Immunicorp strike ship. So they'll maybe put themselves right about here. And I would say that you guys are now in close range with the I-13. You could potentially dock with them, but the caveat is they would have to keep their shields down for you to dock.
We couldn't modulate our shield frequency to match theirs in light of the fact that they are the same, essentially the same ship as ours.
Oh, right, that's true. You can do that. Give me a momentum and a threat, and I'll let it happen.
I would suggest doing that, but
I'm good with that.
Okay. So, by
Sure.
coordinating with the I-13, you modulate your shields so that you pass through and back up into the upper side of the saucer section with the I-13. And it's like I said, because you had to go down through the bridge to get to the Wave Rider in the first place, it's literally just up a ladder to get you all onto the bridge. But that is your turn for the round. So what's going to happen is that the strike ship is going to apply a new scan for weakness on the I-13. And they succeed. And it is now the player's turn again.
Captain, request permission to open fire.
I was just gonna say, are we in our positions now on the bridge?
Oh yeah, you have gotten to wherever you want to be on the ship, really.
Commander, fire at will.
Right. I would like to fire phasers targeting their engines,
Okay.
and I will spend 1 threat to buy an extra die while
Okay.
using my control, augmented ability control.
Okay. So that's going to be a control security for you, a weapon security for the I-13.
And I get, because of precise targeting, I get to re-roll 1 die, and I have piercing 1.
Okay.
So I'll re-roll that 0.
All right.
Control
I can roll for the ship.
secure.
I see 5 successes. So, with 5 successes, you get 3 momentum.
6 because of augmented ability, I think.
Then 4 momentum. And yeah, with your 4 momentum, let's say, trying to remember here, you're firing with phasers, yes?
Yes.
Then you have versatile 2, which means you have 2 momentum from the phasers.
I'll roll the challenge dice first because I have piercing 1 due to precise targeting.
Okay.
So that's 5 challenge dice.
Should be your scale plus your security. So I believe, what is your security? 3? 2? Yeah, 5 challenge dice.
Okay.
Okay, so that is piercing 2. Or so that pierces 2 2 resistance. Dealing 4 damage. Do you want to reroll zeros or?
Yeah, I'll spend 1 to re-roll those 2 zeros.
Okay.
Sorry, that was 1 challenge dice, so I'll roll 1 more.
Okay.
So that's 2 damage, or 1 damage and 1 piercing.
Okay. So let's see. So that is because they are a scale 3 vessel. They do still have 1 resistance, so they would take 4 damage, unless you want to add a point of damage with momentum.
Do it.
I'd actually, if this is okay with everyone else, I'd like to add a point of damage and then drain 2 power by spending the
Ooh,
other
that
2
sounds good.
momentum.
I'm all for it.
So we'd be down to 1 momentum.
Mm-hmm. So the I-13, it's not a shiny sovereign class, but it can definitely deal out the hurt. The phaser strip on the starboard side of the saucer charges up, fires out, and strikes the rear section of the Immunicorp strike ship. I can do words. And immediately the engines, there's sort of an explosion as one of the engine blocks completely implodes. Implodes, explosions. Again, English, good. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is the moment you hit them, one of their engines goes dead, and the lights across the entire strike ship go dark. You have literally gotten rid of all of their power. And believe it or not, you're now getting a hail from the planet. Not the ring, the planet.
Put it on screen.
All right. And appearing on screen is the Regent. And the Regent says, "We just received your communication, and Captain, I don't know whether to thank you or let's just say that we are taking actions to apprehend all of Immunicorp personnel and higher-ranking officials."
I'm glad to hear that you got the information, and I just hope that this helps prevent your population from being ravaged by this virus.
The Federation has done us a great service this day, and I believe it will go a long way to changing my people's attitudes about outsiders. I'm not saying this will happen in the near future, but perhaps one day we may choose to join your Federation.
That's good to hear. I'll send you everything you need to know about contacting us for when you do decide to open communications.
Very good. And I do apologize on behalf of my people if there was any damage or injuries caused because of the CEO's actions.
Luckily, it was not much damage, one casualty, but not fatal. We should be all right.
Well, I have to go see a CEO and arrest them. So, Fosstarian II out. And the screen goes back to an image of the planet.
And first, I walk over to Telek and just check on them. Mr. Telek, you might need to go down to sick bay to get your wounds further treated by the EMH. I walk over to the captain. Captain, I imagine you want to take me to the brig?
Didn't we deactivate the EMH when we took all of the
Except in his little office.
projectors?
Nope,
Do we
because
have an EMH right now?
you don't have the EMH. You have backpacks which have the EMH.
No,
But that
he
one
had
doesn't
said-
work autonomously.
Oops.
I believe he had said he had left the one in his little office, like the little circular area.
Right, but I think I also
but
said
he can't access any of the machinery to do any scans or anything. There's like no way you can check if I have a concussion or anything with
Right.
I've
the
engineered
EMH
my
in his
importance.
office.
I've engineered my importance on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
I looked to Commander Saval and say, Commander, escort the doctor to the medical bay. And once he's done making sure Commander Telek is all right, escort him to the brig.
I believe, Captain, that you will have to find another security officer to effect that order. I will need to be imprisoned in the brig as well.
All right, Commander Holton.
Holton just sort of crosses her arms and says, "It might be mutiny, sir, but I agree with Idru and Saval in this matter. There was nothing wrong done here, sir."
I disagree. And my report will state that.
Well,
But if everyone's going to put their arms up when I ask them to do something, I guess nothing can be done.
I
no,
believe you
I will...
misunderstand.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I believe you misunderstand, Captain. I am entirely willing to imprison the doctor. However, I assisted him in his efforts. If he is to be imprisoned in the brig, then I should be as well.
And Holton speaks up, "I'm much the same. I was the one who intercepted the package that Idru sent initially and relayed it ourselves down to the planet through the interference. Again, I don't have a problem isolating myself, sir, but I just want my objection to be on the record."
And it will be. Let's get out of here.
All right.
And I march off to my office.
Okay. And sure enough, I think it's safer to say that Saval, you escort Idru and Tolek to sickbay. They handle their medical problems. Holton goes to her quarters. And then I think Saval and Idru go to their quarters because there's not really a brig on a Nova class, at least not on anything I could find. So I think that's where we're going to end today's session, with a little bit of drama there at the end, where we're going to have to resolve that next session a little bit. But yeah, hopefully you guys had a fun session. I thought that went really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots
Oh
of
yeah,
fun.
it was fun.
Yep.
Cool.
Can't wait to see what we do with everything.
Yeah, it's there is some interesting drama that's going to come out of this. We'll talk offline about it. But this is where I'm going to end the stream. So Twitch, YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see these guys in 2 weeks. Bye, stream.